We'll make the correction at the time. It's read. Mr. Kirby?
I have nothing to say.
Thank you. Mayor?
Okay, project update. You probably noticed they have laid out for the striping of the areas of the new paving that we get striped. They haven't actually striped it yet. They've got them little skinny layout marks on them. I was waiting for someone to, complain about the striping, and but that's just the layout for the striping that will be coming. I think they would have probably been doing it today if the weather had not cooperated, but they'll be doing that soon. I wanted to mention one of the projects that we recently got funded for. I want to give a shout out to our projects coordinator, Tracy Plants, or projects coordinator. We got a message from Whitaker Wright, who is the senior planner with the CDC of Ohio, who helped us get this grant. And he sent a note that he believes this grant received the $500,000 funding based upon the research that was done on our rates in that neighborhood. And Tracy Plants, she is an industrial engineer with a statistics background, and she loves doing charts and graphs, and her good work is probably what got us this $500,000 grant, or certainly contributed to it. So I just wanted to give her a shout out for that. She did it by gaining all kind of statistics from all the addresses in that neighborhood, and what their sewer bills were, and what their income was, and what percentage of income their sewer was, because at some point, according to national standards, if it's above a certain percentage, it's too high. So she was determined, based on them low incomes in that neighborhood, that they were paying too much for sewer already, so that helped us get this grant to help fix them sewer lines, which had been determined as some of the worst sewer lines in the city. And this is an area from Mitchell to the Wood Avenue main, basically, that heads out to the sewer plant. A lot of infiltration and leakage of water that's not supposed to be going to the sewer plant, whether it's from things that are inappropriately tied into the sewer, like downspouts or things, or whether it's just open water running into what we could obviously know are cracks and leaks in the manholes and the sewer lines that we see from cameraing those lines. So just wanted to give her a shout out for helping us get that grant. Every little bit helps. We have that problem all over the city. Old sewer lines and old water lines, but the sewer lines leak when we have rain events like tonight, and causes us to treat a lot more sewage than we should, which costs us more money. That's one of the reasons we have higher sewer costs than we would like to have. Yes, Debbie?
Yeah, so we've got 500,000. How much is the whole project going to cost us?
We think that's going to cover most of it, actually.
Wow, that's great.
So, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
kudos to her.
Yep.
Good hire.
Also, I've been asked a couple of times about the tree commission. I talked about with City Attorney Joe, who did find the tree commission ordinance from our codified ordinances, and I have reviewed it. The tree commission hasn't been named or in service for a long time, I understand, in the city of Jackson. So I'd like to revise it and bring it back to council. I actually don't want to have a tree commission. It's so hard to get people in the public to participate and come to the meeting. I'd like to handle it administratively, but I'd like to keep this ordinance because there's some things in here that, such as any planting of a tree on a city property or on city right-of-way has to be approved. The right kind of tree, the right placement, that kind of things. We get trees that are planted in a bad area and they can cause, damage to sewer lines, sidewalks, curbs, gutters. And also that clearly gives us the right to remove them if they are if they are on the city right of way or city property. Clearly gives us the right to remove them if we feel like we need to also. And I want you to know that I'm a huge supporter of trees and encourage our citizens to plant trees. They just need to be the right kind of trees, planted in the right area, and preferably on private property that aren't on one of our utility right-of-ways. So I'll have that to council to review and maybe the next meeting. Yes, Debbie?
So is this still in effect right now, that ordinance?
Yes, it is.
Because there's an area in town that's got 4 or 5 new on our oak trees that are still very little, that I'm wondering, that they're big roots in oak trees. I was just wondering if you want that list of where those trees are. They're little, they've just been planted recently.
This has been in effect since 1988.
So I will give you that list.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions on that? Okay. Also, I want to update council, answer a few questions you asked about a reorganization. And I didn't get this prepared like I'd like to, but I'll wing it, which is dangerous for me. But you know, I understand where you guys come from. I served on a school board, 2 different school boards, total of 27 or 28 years, which is kind of a role like you're in now, and I understand the questions and the abuse, and it's hard. It's hard when sometimes you just can't answer things because of legal constraints. You know, when we have an executive session, you know, by law, there's certain things we can go into executive session and talk about, and then once we do that, we're not supposed to talk about them publicly. It makes it really hard, and obviously, once we do things publicly, it becomes a public record, and you can, but it's really hard to determine that, and I don't have a good answer for that. You just have to use good judgment on what, you know, after that happens. But basically, if we're in the middle of like contract negotiations, we're not supposed to be talking about those things publicly. In fact, that in itself could be deemed an unfair labor practice. Anytime we're in a legal issue, a lot of times during that, you know, we shouldn't be talking about it publicly. But I want to update you on some of the things that I feel like I can tell you, so that you can answer some of them questions. There's 2 things that I know I'm going to be known for as mayor. 2 things. Good, bad, or ugly. This is what I'm going to be known for. Number 1 is for trying to reorganize the management of the city of Jackson. We're doing that because we want it to be run, we want it to be managed by law. We want it to be managed the way the Ohio Revised Code says to. You know, if there's positions in this city that are doing a job that by the job description and by the duties that job does, by law then says they should or shouldn't be in a union, then that's what we should go by. They should or shouldn't be in a union. The other thing I'm going to be known for, we all are, I guess, is the income tax. Because the city never had one. The city tried to put one on, failed, had one put on, removed, all that. We're going to be known for that. We put the income tax on. Well, I hope that you all are proud of what you've done there, because of that income tax, we're able to fix up and clean up this town. We're able to rebuild the police department and we're doing it the right way. You know, no more of these fancy transfers. We're funding everything, I believe, the way it should be funded. And because of this income tax, and you all, you know, supported it when we, you know, went to put it on the ballot, which was the right way to do it too, and convince the citizens to support it. If we didn't have that, none of this would be happening. It just wouldn't be happening. Because of the income tax and because of you all, you are changing Jackson. And we've just started. You know, this is the first year of it, of a 5-year income tax. And hopefully after that, or in 4 years, the citizens of Jackson will see the difference it has made and make it a permanent income tax like every other city in Ohio. Because that's how you fund those things. That's the correct legal way of doing it. And that's how we want to do it. Back to the reorganization. Dave and I come in here, no connections to the city. By the way, I gave a few kudos tonight. I want to give one to Mr. Swackhammer. He's doing an awesome job. I felt like we were lucky to get him. So keep up the good work, Mr. Swackhammer. I'm a guy that, you know, maybe I'm hard to work for, I don't know. People just say I'm a little difficult, but I don't give kudos too much during a normal day, so I wanted to give him one tonight here. He does a great job for us. He works hard at it. He doesn't get paid. We got a dozen people in this city, more than that makes more money than he does, yet he's to run the entire city. So, but we spent probably the first 6 months of our new administration, we didn't get any training. You know, we both come from private business. None of us had any connection with the city of Jackson or any other municipality for that matter. So we didn't do anything right away or make any changes. We studied the situation, try to figure out what it is we need, how should it be run, and some of the resources that we used, well, Mrs. Colby gave me the council handbook that she had. It was dated, but you know, laws don't change very often. To read about how Jackson is a statutory city and how that affects the way we operate. We researched the Ohio law, the Ohio Revised Code, see how it's supposed to operate by law. We researched the SERB guidebook. SERB is the State Employee Relations Handbook, which deals with differences between management and unions, because we knew that when we come in, everybody was in the union except David and I. I think there was one or two others, but everybody was in the union, or in a union. There's 3 unions here in our office except David and I, and we knew we'd have to try to figure out how to work through all that. But we just wanted to try to organize and manage the city according to law, the way it's supposed to be. So as we started looking at what we needed, we had there were 2 positions working out of our office. We knew that previous administration had 4 at one time, but we didn't change anything. We just analyzed the situation and decided after about 6 months that we felt like 2 is what we needed in there. But we didn't need traditional secretaries. Things change. I mean, I've been in private business my whole life, and I didn't have that kind of assistance in the office. But really, things have changed. I mean, we don't need someone that their only duty is to answer the phone. 90% of my calls as mayor is right here. We don't need someone to take dictation and type papers and do all that. We do it all in email, and for the most part, we all do our own email. I do all mine with my iPad even. My computer is too slow, my city computer, and my phone, it's so fancy and got so many buttons on it, I don't even know how to use it. Seriously, 90% of my mayor's calls right here. And I don't drink coffee. I don't need anybody making coffee in the morning either. That's a joke, by the way, but because David does. But we want to be efficient. We want to. I started to say this earlier when Debbie was asking about the effect on the budget, and I'm sorry this is getting kind of long-winded, but it's surprising how many people don't know where the money comes from. You want to know the effect of lowering utility costs on the budget? The only reason we could do that is because we cut the budget. Where does the money come from to operate the city? It comes from utility costs and taxes, utility payments and taxes. That's where the money comes from. You'd be surprised how many people out there on the street don't realize that. I got one incident I'd like to tell you about, but it'd be calling somebody out, and I don't want to do it. But, I mean, people just don't get it, you know? Any money we spend has to come from the citizens. It comes from their taxes or their utilities, for the most part. There's other little things we get, but that's the most of it. That's the bulk of it. So that's how we could cut our electric rates 13% between the last council and this council. It's because we cut the budget. Anyway, we decided we needed 2 people in our office, but we didn't we wanted one of them to focus on HR. We didn't know what a couple of the previous people did in the administration that was there, because they had left before we came and hadn't been replaced. So we didn't know, we didn't care. We knew what we wanted to do as managers of the city. And we wanted one to focus on HR. We wanted someone with HR experience, because the laws these days, I mean, it's just really complicated to have to do all the paperwork related to 100 employees. And we don't have that experience. We wanted to make sure we had someone that did have that experience dealing with, you know, workers' comp and all the benefit packages. Just payroll itself is complicated. So in all the research we did, someone that is in a confidential position like that, where they have access to personnel records, where they have access to health records, where they have access to our work with us on union contract negotiations, everything said that this should be a non-union position. It's not my rule, it's not our rule, it's not your rule, it's state law. So you know, and it's right out of SERB's guidebook, by the way. So we created that position as a non-union position and filled it. And we got Tanya Hatton in there, who had that direct experience and is doing a good job for us. And I feel like we were lucky to get her. And she's doing a great job. The other position we had in there, we wanted to be project related. And I don't know if you even noticed, but we didn't fill that until after the tax passed. Because if the tax didn't pass, we weren't going to be doing these projects. And there was really no reason for me to be mayor either, because that's why I ran for mayor, to clean up and fix up this town. And we had to have that, you know, we determined, it took a while, we determined that's the only way we were going to be able to do it. So once the tax passed, we knew we were going to have these projects, so we filled that position. That position was going to be mostly a project coordinator. Yeah, she would be a little bit a part of the mayor's secretary to kind of keep me straight with my correspondence and, you know, things that what little bit of a secretary I did need. So that part of that job, you know, as the mayor's confidential secretary, I think it's called, or whatever, also by law led us to believe that that also should be a non-union position by law. We just wanted to do things the right way. Okay. So the 2 people that had been in the office, we did offer these positions, and neither one of them took these positions. So we filled these positions with outside people. Down the road a little bit, one of these positions took a voluntary layoff, was leaving the area for a while, and did. The other one we laid off because there wasn't a position left that we needed in our office. Then we looked at what did we need in our supervision staff and those who supervise the workers. You know, David and I don't supervise those city workers. You know, the people that do supervise those workers reports to David. So, and there were 8 of them, and they were called superintendents, and they were in the superintendent's unit. union. All the research we did there showed that by the duties they did, by the job description and the things, and you all give me plenty of advice on this too, that those positions, maybe by job description, shouldn't be in a union. You know, they definitely directly supervise other municipal employees. There again, it wasn't our determination, it isn't our rule, we're just trying to go by the law. So we talked with the Clemens and Nelson, the attorney group that the previous council had hired to work on union negotiations. They had negotiated the last AFSCME contract for the last council. They had also negotiated the last OPSI contract that wasn't ratified by the last council. So we created the department head's position, and you all supported us on that too, and I thank you for that. And we created them as what we thought they should be, non-union jobs. And y'all were kept aware of that. We didn't try to hide anything or keep anything from you. Some of the time while we were doing that, we couldn't talk about it, but we all can now. During that, we also decided that we didn't think we really needed 8 of them, so we were going to cut back there. We did. We combined one of them that had been part of another job into, combined them and had one less of them. We thought maybe through attrition that we might have even less. We would look at it. We want to be efficient. We want to use the tax dollars as efficiently as we can, because that's the only way we can hold utility rates down. It only can go out what comes in. So anyway, we filled in positions. In all but one case, the people who had been doing that same job took the new positions. With the increased, there was no question with the new job whether you were a supervisor or not. One of the main things we needed you to do was to supervise your workers. We also wanted you to be able to discipline also. We also wanted them to be able to join in on the selection and hiring of those people. And we also needed your help, their help in the budgets to run those departments as we tightly look at the budgets to try to cut the budgets, try to be as efficient as we can there too in each and every department. So that's what we did. And you all supported that. I thank you. I think it was the right thing. But what happened then was the union that had the positions vacated filed what's called an unfair labor practice. It's not an arbitration, not a lawsuit. It's a filing to a state agency, which is CERB. The union can file to the state agency, say, hey, look, we don't think this was fair, basically. State agency come back and agreed with them. That they didn't say that these positions should be, they didn't say that they shouldn't be union jobs. They didn't say that they should or shouldn't. They just said the way we went about it wasn't correct or wasn't fair. There were 2 of them. One of them was the layoff I told you about earlier, that it wasn't fair to lay that person off because the work that position had done is still work that somebody's doing. On the other superintendent positions, they said just the way we went about it wasn't fair. So it wasn't a matter about whether it's right or wrong, it was a matter of the way we went about it. So we could have taken that to court. Our attorneys had told us that's where it would end up from the beginning, likely. But we decided, after going through this process, number one, we didn't want to lose these people. We need them. And they do a good job for us, and they're good employees. We wasn't out to get any people. We wasn't out to go against the union. We was trying to manage the city by law. we decided not to go to court with it. And that's what happened a couple of months ago that you guys have been hearing about. Rather than go to court over it, we just recommended and allowed them, according to what SERB said to do, to just go back to the union positions. They were all doing basically the same work. So we put them all back in their same jobs in the union, same position in the union that they had been in prior. No real harm done. No big additional expense to it. We put them back, and that's where they are now. They're doing their job just like they were. They've been doing it all along. Really no difference there. If we want to change those positions, there's a process for us to go through. We got to do it through negotiations, which start later this week, actually. To determine, okay, then what, in negotiation, we'll be talking about, okay, what are these job duties? And are they doing this or are they not doing this? Should this be in a union position or not? It's just we got to determine it through negotiations or through SERB and not just the way we did, frankly. So that's coming up. So we don't know where that'll lead yet. Our goal has not changed since the beginning. We want to run this, we want to manage this city as efficiently as possible and according to law. It's really that simple. We're not out to get anybody. We're not out to get the union. We're not out to get any of our employees. We just want to do things the right way. And I really appreciate the support the council has given on this, because I know you all want to do that too. The hard part is when people put false rumors out there. When someone puts out there on social media and spreads rumors about all these arbitrations that the city's lost and cost us thousands, I even heard $1 million out there that it's cost us. And then you guys feel like you can't respond to it because it's been stuff we talked about in executive session. Well, that's horse crap when they put out there, frankly. Since I've been mayor and you guys have been on council, there's been one arbitration in the city of Jackson, and it went our way. We've not lost an arbitration at all. Since I've been mayor, there's not been one lawsuit against the city of Jackson about any of our reorganization or anything else for that matter. So when people get out there, especially people who have served in the city and should know better, sit out there and spread them lies, I understand how it hurts you guys and you don't know how to respond. It's lies is what it is, because it's not true, okay? What we have had, and I'll admit, we don't try to hide anything here, we had 2 unfair labor practices filed against SERB to us, and we complied with what they recommended we do, and that's where we're at today. People put out there that it's cost us, all this money. It hasn't. Basically, these people were doing this job paying as a department head. We put them back in the union. Some of them, there was a little difference in the way we set up the pay structure in the new job versus the old one. And if we owed them any difference, we're in the process of figuring out exactly what that is now and paying them. If we owed them anything, we're paying them. The one position that we laid off, we brought back, and we're in the process of determining what we owe that person and we're going to pay them. But it's no different than if that person had been here anyway and stayed here. So there's no big loss to the city there. In fact, if back to what Debbie mentioned about earlier, anybody that says this council is wasting tax dollars is stupid, or they need to check their math. Your first year on council, you cut the budget by $2 million. The second year, this year on council, you cut it by almost another $1 million. So over the 2 years, that's $5 million you guys have cut out of what the budget would have been if it had stayed the same moving forward. That's $5 million you've saved the city, the taxpayers of the city. How's that wasting money? How's that wasting
The right
taxpayers?
way.
Huh?
The right way.
And if you want to look at the number of employees, we've got 83 employees today. 3 years ago, we had 93. That results in over $500,000 this year, over $500,000 that we would be paying in extra payroll this year if we had kept them numbers the same. How's that wasting tax dollars? That's saving the taxpayers money. And that's what I'm here to do, and that's what we're going to do. And I appreciate this council's help on that, because we've done it, and we're going to keep doing it. And you guys have all been part of it. You should be proud about it. And I hope you all, I wish you all good luck in the election next Tuesday. I'm done. Thank you.
Ms. Biggs?
Okay, I agree with everything you said. My question is, and I'm a little confused, the 8 people we were you were speaking of, originally, before we restructured, they could not actually supervise the people or do discipline. Is that correct? Isn't that correct?
Well, they claim that they didn't do what excluded them from being in the union. Now, I mean, it's a little gray area there, what they were doing before, I guess. But that's exactly what we need them to do. We need them to supervise their people.
So when we look at, I know you really can't talk about renegotiations, but is that something we're going to look at, or you would rather not comment on that?
That's something we'll be discussing in negotiations. As we negotiate with that union about those positions, we'll be talking about job duties.
Because I don't understand if they really could not supervise and do any kind of disciplinary if someone was not fulfilling their duties. I don't understand it, then no one is. So why, that seems like no one's really looking over the employees. That's how it would seem to me.
That's part of what we're trying to figure out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Service Director's report, Mr. Swikammer.
Yeah, I have about 4 items, I guess, here I'm going to cover. First one, I want to give a shout out to Chris Hughes and the high school leadership team. If anybody's been down to the Eddie Jones Park last couple days, I know it's been rainy days, but you'll probably see some bright new red and white paint jobs down there on some of the swings and stuff. They'd reached out to us a month or so ago and wanted to do a community service project, and I think they did a very good job on Saturday and stuff, and it definitely brightens up the park down there. And so I reached out to Chris and wanted to give him a shout out tonight, and the rest of his group for the work they did at the city. It's nice to see people taking a positive, active interest in the city. 2021 leaf pickup. We have just posted this on our website today. The City of Jackson will start taking work orders for leaf pickup starting on November 1st through December 10th. You can call the city utility office to have a work order made for your address. All leaf piles are to be at curbside, and the piles must be free of branches, sticks, and other trash. This is strictly a leaf pickup. And when we get the work orders in, we'll group them by neighborhoods so that we're not driving the truck all over the place. We'll do it what makes the most efficient. So if you call in a work order and there's nobody out there right that moment to get it, be patient. We'll wait until others in your neighborhood also send them in so we can be efficient in our pickup. Also in the newspaper, I believe it came out this past weekend, You probably saw the first of the 5 ads for the partials that the city will be selling. These are the ones that was already pre-approved by council. We will be putting signs up. They'll probably go up after Halloween this weekend and stuff, less chance of vandalism and stuff with them. So we will put a sign on each of the partials. Two partials will be sold as one priced in one group, another 3 partials to be sold. They are adjacent to each other. Based upon their location, it didn't make sense to split them up. It did not leave enough area outside of a flood zone for anybody to do anything with, so that's why we'll have some of them together on here. Total of 6 partials, 6 sales items, a total of 9 partials. Again, this was the first of the 5 that by ordinance that we need to show. Let's see, what was the last item I had? I guess I had the 3. Just 3 items to cover, sir.
Questions, Mr. Schweikner? Mayor?
I just want to clarify, because I don't know the answer, and I know the public. I remember there was a little controversy over this last year. On the leaves to the curbside, I think that means not out in the street, though. You know, David?
It is supposed to be in the gutter area.
But not in the gutter, right?
Right.
They need to stay in the grass or on the yard?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be up in the grass and elevated. We don't want them going
Right.
into our storm drain. We
Right, so
want
don't
them
blow
down
them in the streets. Don't put
Yeah.
them in the streets. Leave them along the curb for the city to pick them up.
Right.
That's, if they get in the curbs, then they get in the gutters, they get in the storm sewers, all kind of problems. We don't want that.
Great. Thank you.
Anything else for Mr. Schweikhammer? Thank you, Mr. Schweikhammer. Next, we'll go to the ordinances and resolutions portion. We'll begin with ordinance 5821. I believe this is 3rd reading for 5821. Ms. Kuhn?
An ordinance creating a position within the AFSCME union and establishing a pay rate and declaring an emergency.
Discussion. Hearing done, roll call, Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Biggs.
Yes.
Bach.
Yes.
Ordinance 5821 is duly adopted. Next, we'll look at 3rd reading of ordinance 6021. Ms. Kuhn?
An ordinance of the legislative authority of the city of Jackson, Ohio, to cause real property owned by the city of Jackson, Ohio, located adjacent to lots 633, 634, and 635 of the B.W. Thacker addition in the village of Hamden to be sold at public sale to the highest bidder.
Discussion. Hearing none, Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Biggs. Bach.
Yes.
We'll move on to ordinance 6121. This is first reading. And will Ms. Kuhn read? Yes. this one. Ms. Kuhn, go ahead.
An ordinance to revise the codified ordinances by adopting current replacement pages thereto and declaring an emergency.
Could I have a motion to adopt ordinance 6121 as presented to council? Ms. Biggs, is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Colby? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Discussion. Mr. Schweikhammer.
Yeah, I need to check here with Cindy. I think we probably need to, if we can get an emergency on this one. This one should have probably been done about August timeframe. Yeah, and again, this is just a codified ordinance update. And this is also updating our ordinances to stay in line with the Ohio Revised Code.
Other discussion?
Mr. President,
Yes. Mr. Peters?
there is no emergency clause, correct?
I think you have an updated one.
I gave you an
and a half.
updated.
Declaring an emergency.
No. Okay, gotcha. Yep, right, I got it, 21. I was looking at 20. I move to suspend the rules so we can get this published and implemented to comply with the ORC.
Is there a second? Mr. Call, second. Discussion. Ms. Coon, roll call, please.
Foster.
Yes.
Call.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk. Biggs.
Yes.
Bop.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Call.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk. Biggs.
Yes.
Bop.
Yes.
Ordinance 6121 is duly adopted. Next, we'll look at ordinance 6221. Am I correct, Mr. Reed, we need this to technically be in the year 2000? Am I correct?
Yes, that was just probably when it was done, written
So
up.
we need to make sure, so we can,
So what's it supposed to be?
is the year,
This at the top.
2020?
yeah. Yeah, yes, I meant 20, I said year 2000.
Under section 1, it looks like there's a 2020.
And that should be 2021?
Should be 2021. Yeah, I'm a little behind in the year 2000. Okay. So it's 6221, Ms. Coon, if you would read.
An ordinance transferring appropriations from the water, sewer, garbage, electric, and fire tax levy funds to the general community improvement and electric funds for reimbursement in accordance with the Maximus cost allocation.
Can I have a motion to adopt 6221 as presented to council?
So moved.
Ms. Colby, is there a second? Mr. Bob, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Discussion, Mr. Reed?
This is what's set up every year by Maximus. We were planning on doing a new study this year, but with the changes throughout the city, it doesn't make sense to do so, so we have pushed that back into next year. These are the same numbers that have been used for the last 4 years. They're identical, so in other words, they were presented to us by Maximus. This is what we're allowed to do, and that was actually set up on council clear back when I was on it 20 years ago. So they give us the numbers. It's an outside entity. That's what the state asked us to do. The thing we will be doing again is next year redoing these numbers as far as a new organization in the city to make sure it's reflective there. They had okayed us to carry it on for several years so that we weren't having a $15,000 to $20,000 expense every year to do a new study. So that's the way this is set up. So this would be the last year of these numbers, and then next year we will have it, like I say, the process was already started this year, and then I canceled it because of the new alignment. I said, can we back it off 6 to 8 months? So it'll be next year's, and we'll use next year's numbers, so it'll be up to date.
Other discussion?
And this one, as far as looking at it, if somebody has questions, it would be nice to get it done. The next one, we definitely need because of the invoice that's going to be coming for the Lillian Jones. If you would want to wait till the 1st of November on this one, that would be fine, the first reading, or the first meeting in November.
Mr. Schweikhammer?
Question for Mr. Reed. Will this impact the numbers that I get to try
Yes.
to work 2021 or 2022 budget?
If this isn't in the budget, yes, it will. It'll be, these numbers will not be moved back to your general. So if you want it done, like I say, the numbers aren't changing any at all. If you want to pass it tonight, that'd be great to do. Anything we can get done ahead in our office, I appreciate.
Just
Mr. Peters?
just for the record, and I got my notes out from June 8th, 2020 of last year when we passed this. We have a sewer project that is in dire need. We have a water project that's in need. We transferred the $25,000 from the fire tax levy back to the fire department last year. Hopefully, we can do that again. It's a lot of money to arbitrarily just move over there, especially to the general fund where we just passed an income tax to help offset some of this, the spending or to cover the general fund. Just like I said, just for the record, I don't like this. I see this as any different than transferring those funds previously. I get it, there's a study, I get it that The state auditor's office recommends this, but I think those totals are too high. Said it last year, say it again this year, so that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Any other discussion?
Question.
Ms. Reed?
I would ask Mr. Peters, has he ever read the maximum study or have anything to base on as these numbers are too high?
Well, there's $1 million getting transferred out of all of these funds.
And the administration for those funds is done by this administration and their people.
But you
This
just said,
is where they showed exact expenses, our offices, and different things that are paid out of that fund.
Which-
They looked at what was billed, they look at what percentage should be used, and it, like I say, it is an outside entity doing that. So I don't understand, unless you can tell me why something shouldn't be done, other than a number. We are a $42 to $50 million industry. And the management of that, to me, that's not even that doesn't seem like a lot of money to me.
okay, to answer your question, your first question that you just asked me, no, I didn't read it. No, I don't know how I could read it. So maybe you could provide everyone a copy of it. Second off, we've reduced the budget 2 years in a row by a total, I believe he said $5 million. So you're using 4-year-old totals on a budget that was reduced in 1 year and then reduced the next year. So when this happens, I don't know what the number is going to shake out to be, but I'll bet you a ham sandwich that it's less than what we're transferring right now. That's all I have.
I'll take the bet.
Pick one mayonnaise.
Other discussion? Any further action to be taken on ordinance 6221? Hearing none, this constitutes the first reading of ordinance 6221. Next, we have ordinance, first reading, ordinance 6321. Ms. Kuhn?
An ordinance approving additional appropriations in the Lillian Jones Trust Fund maintenance and declaring an emergency.
Can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 6321 as presented to council this evening? Ms. Biggs, is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Colby, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Discussion, Mr. Swackhammer.
I think as Mr. Reed had just mentioned, this is work that they had to do. They didn't have those funds already in a budgeted line item, and it is coming out of their account. It is not a separate account for city general fund money. It's just allowing them to pay for the work that is actually ongoing right now over there. So I'd hate to see them get a bill, not have the funds.
Ms. Biggs,
I move to suspend the rules in order that they'll be able to pay their bill.
is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Colby? Discussion? Roll call, please.
Foster.
Yes.
Call.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Biggs.
Yes.
Bob.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Foster.
Yes.
Call.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Biggs.
Yes.
Bob.
Ordinance 6321 is duly adopted. Next, we'll move into our loan resolution for the evening, and that is Resolution 4121, first reading. Ms. Kuhn?
A resolution accepting the conveyance of a 2022 trailer from the Jackson County Emergency Management Agency for use by the Jackson Fire Department and declaring an emergency.
Can I have a motion to adopt Resolution 4121 as presented to council? Mr. Bob, is there a second? Ms. Biggs, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Discussion. Mr. Swackhammer.
Yeah, for those that may not be aware, the confined space through the emergency management agencies moved from Jackson to Wellston. Although Jackson, City of Jackson owned most of the equipment, the Wellston program is getting new equipment funded through the state, but Wellston is far enough away that with the equipment we had, Chief Channel had approached saying if they buy this trailer out of the funds that they have, not as a fire department, but as their separate entity that they have, and donate it to the city, would the city be willing to accept it and put it on our insurance policy for them to put in the confined space equipment, which the city does own, so that we could make, tend to call more quickly than what a Wellston could if it was on this end of the county and stuff. So this is really accepting something that is non-city fund purchase. It's being done separately through the fire department's external funding, and so that's what this is for.
Thank you, Mr. Schweikhammer. Is there questions, discussions? Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So this is obviously a matter of public safety at this point, correct?
Yeah, right now it is laying on the firehouse out to Liberties. Right now is where they're storing it for us.
I'll move to suspend the rules so we can
Second.
secure our.
Second by Mr. Newkirk. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Foster.
Yes.
Call.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Biggs. Yes. Bach.
Yes.
Further discussion? Okay.
Foster.
Yes.
Call. Colby. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Biggs. Yes. Bach.
Yes.
Resolution 4121 is duly adopted. Moving back to our agenda, I don't think we have any correspondence. Old business to be brought before council?
Old business?
Mr. Call? Wait, one sec. Let me go with Mr. Call.
Okay.
Mr. Call? I'll go right there.
Under old business, Mr. Irby, we're running up against a tolling agreement deadline here in December on that landfill. What seems to be going on there?
There's been I think a good bit of work with the administration and them to try to identify exactly it is what they want and try to come to some resolution. So I think we're moving really in the right direction. The indication I had is probably, if anything, would be another tolling agreement or a shorter one, which is certainly fine. The group they did sue, as far as I know, they still have not served that lawsuit yet. So it's still just hanging there and not being moved forward at all. So that's where it is right now. I think that they're making some good progress, and worst case scenario, which is kind of a neutral scenario, would be that we just do another tolling agreement.
Thank you.
Mr. Foster?
Question for Mr. Schweikhammer. I've been asked to get a clarification at Hammertown on the hunting. Sunday morning on the Pleasant Grove side, somebody was shooting at least 10 shots, and people would like a clarification on both sides. If you could work on something.
Well, the previous, actually it's been several administrations ago, when the original agreement was signed with ODNR on Hammertown, it's under just state ODNR regulations as far as hunting and enforcement. It is within the city, but ODNR had an agreement already in place with there. The only thing that's been updated recently is with the Gisco Lake property. Hammertown, nothing has changed at all. ODNR has full enforcement rights at Hammertown as they have in the past.
Okay.
There is no permitting process for there.
Their old business to be discussed. We didn't have anyone sign in to speak this evening, so I'll move into new business. Anyone have any new business to be brought before council? I will say, I should have said in the correspondence just quickly, I was asked to remind everyone that the Jackson Chamber will have their own trunk or treat this Saturday. They will be closing parts of Broadway Street from 5:30 to 7. So that was on, was asked for that. I know the church next door is going to have trunk or treat at the same time. So, Mayor Evans.
Well, since you announced that, we'll announce again that the citywide trick or treat is Saturday evening, 5:30 to 7.
Yay.
Sure, Ryan, you're right there in the hot spot of it.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
With no other new business to be brought before council, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Ms. Biggs? Second by Ms. Colby. All those in favor say aye.